Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. By viewers like you. Thank you.
What a difference a day makes. After a 24-hour delay, the San Diego Unified School District is back in session. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Almost 100,000 students went back to school to begin the fall semester. KPBS education reporter MG Perez has more from Hoover High.
It's great. Let's go.
They didn't miss a beat. The Hoover High School Band and cheerleading squad here to welcome 2,200 students back to school. You can see the diversity of the community on this mega campus in City Heights, which includes 98% students of color, a quarter of them English language learners, and about 150 students living without permanent housing. And they're all here to succeed.
I'm going to challenge us, ask us, beg us, plead with us. Create the conditions for them to be amazing now and into the future.
These are some of the players on the girls' flag football team, a new league sport coming to 17 San Diego Unified campuses for the first time.
It's good because you want to encourage more people, like little kids, to look up at you, and I feel pretty nice with it.
It's really fun because we never had flag football at our school before, so it's the first time, and it's like nice to make history.
Your blood pressure's like around 130, like between 140.
Juniors and seniors at Hoover will begin sports medicine classes this fall.
Now you can angle it up through the hand.
This renovated classroom space will be used to educate students on how to practice medical protocols on each other while working to improve their academic grade point averages and explore career options.
EMT, physical therapy, nurse. If you think of the skill sets we're learning here, it doesn't limit us to just, athletic training.
There is more than academics happening here on the Hoover High campus this year. This is one of the district's premier community schools, which means support programs for the whole student. Hoover has a medical and dental clinic on campus through a partnership with La Maestra Family Health Centers. Feeding San Diego provides 4,600 pounds of dry food and fresh fruits and vegetables every month to stock the school pantry for families to use. And there is therapy and individual counseling sessions available too.
You can't learn if you're hungry. You can't learn if you're having trouble at home. You can't learn if you're dealing with mental health issues. You can't learn if your stomach hurts and you have an underlying medical condition. So we want our kids to perform at a high level. We need to make sure that we're meeting all their needs.
And this is just the first day of school. MG Perez, KPBS News.
The San Diego County Water Authority is suing over a decision that they argue leaves the county high and dry. As KPBS North County reporter Alexander Nguyen explains, it all boils down to money.
San Diego's water divorce is getting messier. Last month, the San Diego County Local Agency Formation Commission voted to allow Fallbrook Public Utility District and Rainbow Municipal Water District to detach from the San Diego County Water Authority. After that decision, the Water Authority said litigation was the last resort and that it was continuing to work with Fallbrook and Rainbow to find a compromise. But on Monday, the Water Authority filed a lawsuit against LAFCO, saying it did not follow proper procedures before permitting detachment. So, what's changed? Nothing, says Water Authority General Manager Dan Denham.
Litigation is really a placeholder.
He says the lawsuit is about preserving the rights of ratepayers in San Diego. The rest of the county could be on the hook for more than $100 million if Fallbrook and Rainbow leave.
We'll still be able to talk and potentially reach some sort of settlement agreement. So it's kind of a dual track at this point.
In the lawsuit, the Water Authority alleges there are several deficiencies in LAFCO's decision on detachment, including not doing the CEQA analysis on Rainbow and Fallbrook leaving. Jack Beebe, general manager of Fallbrook Public Utilities, says there's nothing about his agency leaving that would trigger an analysis under the California Environmental Quality Act, or CEQA.
I'm not building any infrastructure, so they're sort of redefining what a project is under CEQA, including not changing anything in the environment. So it's an interesting thing for a public agency to try to lower the bar for CEQA.
Currently, the Water Authority has very little reliance upon the sensitive Sacramento Bay Delta area. By leaving the Water Authority, Rainbow and Fallbrook will increase their demand on that sensitive area, which is of great concern to the state of California.
In a statement, LAFCO Executive Officer Keen Simmons says the suit is disappointing but not surprising, and the agency is ready to defend its decision. Not liking a reasonable decision is not grounds to overturn the decision, he says. Alexander Nguyen, KPBS News.
First, there was Hillary. Now Tropical Storm Harold has made landfall in Texas. As Ivan Rodriguez reports, this all comes as rising temperatures have around 1 million people under heat alerts.
Powerful tropical storm strength winds unleashing fury on southern Texas, putting more than 1 million people under tropical storm warnings, triggering a local state disaster in Port Aransas. The city is under the threat of imminent disaster, injury, or loss of life or property. Meanwhile, Hillary, the first tropical storm to strike California in 84 years, rewriting rainfall record books in Idaho, Montana, Oregon, and Nevada.
Crazy rain. It's been pouring down like, I don't know, it's been nuts.
And triggering heavy flooding.
This was an extreme fashion. This is something that was unforeseen.
On top of dealing with disasters,
at the height of Hurricane Hillary, we experienced an outage of our main power to the hospital.
With elevators down, emergency crews evacuated more than 200 patients from White Memorial Hospital in Los Angeles.
Firefighters needed to assist with transporting the patients downstairs while we staged our ambulances in a very well-coordinated manner.
This is an extremely dangerous heat wave built across the central U.S. Blistering temperatures have shattered more than 8,500 daily heat records across the country in the last 30 days. Sweltering temperatures and the lack of air conditioning are delaying the start of some school districts in Illinois.
Staff and kids, there's health concerns. Whenever it's that hot, it is really challenging to sit in a space for 6-7 hours.
Ivan Rodriguez, KPBS News.
There are 58 special districts in San Diego County paid for by property taxes. Some districts are monitored closely, others not so much. And one of them, as KPBS discovered, is a cemetery district in Ramona. Nuevo Memory Garden Cemetery in Ramona is the final resting place for more than 1,000 souls. It opened in 1893 and sits on 10 acres. Adorning the entrance is a plaque recognizing 2 of the cemetery's 3 current board members. One is William Biggs, who joined the cemetery district's board more than 34 years ago. The other is Daniel Vengler, who's been a board member for over 30 years. There are no term limits for special district boards in California, but an expert on good governance says he's never heard of anyone serving this long. Yet he's not surprised it happened.
Almost all special districts are under the radar. Nobody pays very much attention to them.
Bob Stern is co-author of the state's Political Reform Act, which governs how public agencies should operate. Special districts, he explains, are self-governing.
Well, generally the county is at least having some sort of monitoring them. They get away with anything they want to.
And whatever they want is what the cemetery board has been doing, says 40-year Ramona resident Pete Smith. He first took interest 3 years ago while sitting on a committee that oversees county audits.
Highlighted was a comment by a county auditor who caught in his review of the statement that 2 of the directors were paying themselves health care benefits, which the auditor thought was unusual.
The report was sent to the county's civil grand jury, which investigates such things. But Smith says nothing changed. So he dug deeper and found that since 2011, the Ramona district has paid a total of $402,123 in trustee health benefits. Benefits they voted to give themselves. KPBS confirmed what Smith found. And reviews of the other 3 cemetery districts in the county found that none of the others paid their trustees health benefits.
My biggest concern as a taxpayer is how are these monies being used?
Smith was joined by a KPBS reporter at the board's monthly meeting in early August. It was his second appearance at a board meeting to ask about their health benefits. During his first visit, he was told to provide proof. On this visit, he provided it, the district's own records.
Of the cemetery districts in San Diego County, only Ramona pays to their directors any form of health care.
The California Controller's website shows in 2021, Trustee Biggs received $15,168 in health contributions, and Trustee Vengler got $34,800.
This same amount, this $34,800, is greater than your maintenance worker or your maintenance supervisor gets in a basic salary.
The salary figures for the full-time maintenance workers and John Vargas, the district manager, are also on the state website.
Who gets $34,000?
I don't know. I don't know the financial stuff.
You don't know who gets this money?
No, I don't.
Well, how about this $15,000?
Well, that would be the second one.
Yeah.
They told the KPBS reporter to check with Vargas to clear up his confusion about their health insurance.
That's a lot of compensation.
I can't address that. I'm sorry.
Okay.
But then, 24 minutes later, Vengler made a surprise announcement. He says the board should give employees a 5% raise and stop paying for his and Biggs' health benefits.
We want to reverse a motion that was made in 2011 that the Ramona Cemetery District pay the CalPERS health benefits in full for trustees.
Biggs and Vengler were reappointed during the 28 years Supervisor Diane Jacob was in office. Joel Anderson succeeded Jacob in 2021 and reappointed the board members. We showed him what we found.
You know, I was shocked to learn what we learned.
The supervisor said his options are limited.
We're actually doing the research on what we can and cannot do. I made some of these appointments back in 21 when I first got elected, and nobody else applied, and there were no complaints, and I had no idea.
The Cemetery District Board met again last week. They acted on the proposals Vengler made at the previous meeting, and it went a step further.
They wanted a copy of your check. I redacted information.
Vengler paid the district back for his insurance costs with 2 checks totaling $303,658. And one more thing.
As far as the health care benefits in CalPERS,
the board members agreed to terminate their health benefits. And KPBS freelance reporter J.W. August wrote and reported the story.
I'm Jeff Bennett. Tonight on the NewsHour, much of the country languishes under extreme summer heat as the effects of climate change become more apparent. Coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
The Biden administration's already contentious decision to continue with a Trump-era border wall replacement has sparked another controversy. Once the current wall is removed, hundreds of murals painted along the San Diego border may be gone forever. KPBS border reporter Gustavo Solis spoke with one local artist.
On the Tijuana side of the border, the fence that divides the U.S. and Mexico is a canvas. The border wall is filled with colorful murals, each one of them with a unique take on immigration. The artwork features messages about undocumented immigrants, deported veterans, migratory birds, even astronauts. Enrique Chu is an artist who's been painting murals along the border since 2016. He says artists from all over the world come to this spot.
Brasil, Argentina, de Francia, Japón, muchos lugares vienen a pintar.
Their work is slowly vanishing. Customs and Border Protection is replacing the existing wall. The agency told KPBS that contractors hired to replace the wall are responsible for disposing the murals. As of Monday afternoon, CBP hadn't given the contractor's name to KPBS. Chu would like some of the murals to be preserved, but he knows it's unrealistic to save all of the artwork.
Realmente no vamos a poder recuperar el muro.
one section is already lost. A portion of the wall near the Pacific Ocean depicted colorful hearts and multiple silhouettes of Mexican women. Now, it's just a rusty metal fence and some barbed wire. Although he's sad about the loss, Chu is ready to paint again.
Es que pongan el nuevo muro para pintarlo. Necesitamos darle otra vez esa expresión a este espacio.
He already plans to start on new murals as soon as the border wall is replaced. Gustavo Solis, KPBS News.
The best contract in UPS history. That's what the Teamsters president is calling the latest labor agreement approved by union members today. The possible strike could have crippled shipping in the U.S. Laura Aguirre reports.
Strike averted for now. The Teamsters say a majority of their UPS union members voted to accept the company's latest 5-year contract. Teamsters leadership and the company initially avoided an August 1st strike with a tentative labor deal that both sides called a win. Still, it was up to the union's rank and file to lock it in at the ballot box. Inside the new contract, pay raises for both full and part-time employees, cost of living raises, and the elimination of a 2-tiered pay system between new and existing hires. All workers will be moved to the higher scale immediately under the approved agreement. This is also good news for the nation's economy. UPS claims to move about 6% of America's gross domestic product each year, delivering on average more than 18 million packages a day so far this year. And now they'll keep on rolling.
Yeah, at least probably a couple times a month.
UPS and Prime, and you see the Prime vans all around.
I'm Laura Aguirre for KPBS News.
American workers want record high wages to start a new job. According to a Federal Reserve Bank of New York survey, it shows the average lowest wage a worker would be willing to accept for a new job is more than $78,000. That's up nearly 8% from July of last year. The survey also showed that women's expectations were nearly $25,000 below men's. Economists cite the labor market and inflation as reasons for the increased expectations. During a medical emergency, every second counts, even before paramedics arrive, and that is why first responders are working to train the public on what they can do after a call to 911 is placed. KPBS health reporter Matt Hoffman has more.
All the pharmacopoeia. This dining room at the Rancho Valencia Resort and Spa in Rancho Santa Fe has been turned into a classroom. Employees here are learning how quick action can help save a life.
We need immediate responders to be able to render aid to persons, for many cases, for those catastrophic injuries or illnesses to have a positive outcome.
American Medical Response paramedic Sal Ruiz is leading the first on-scene training. Here, staff are learning about how to administer Narcan and EpiPen, stop bleeding, and perform CPR. Ruiz says the average 911 response time in this area is around 7 minutes, but certain emergencies like cardiac arrest require immediate intervention before paramedics arrive.
A person cannot be without oxygen to their brain for that 7 minutes. It requires somebody who is nearby to be able to do compressions on that person in order to meaningfully save their life.
Look for chest breathing, look for the rise and fall. Nothing's happening. Hey, go call 911. Send somebody to go activate an emergency response. That part, you get up, you start doing hands-only CPR. You find the middle of the chest, start your compressions. You want to do 2 compressions every second, and just 1, 2.
This is a demonstration of hands-only CPR. First responders say it should be done until the person wakes up or 911 arrives.
Keep consistent. You want your shoulders over the chest. You want your elbows locked, and you want to continue to deliver clear, consistent compressions.
This type of training started at the Rancho Valencia Resort back in 2021. It was after a guest went into cardiac arrest and was saved by a groundskeeper who knew CPR and how to use an AED, or automated external defibrillator.
And after that occurred, management here took a look at staff and said, well, who else knows how to do it? And they decided not enough people knew how.
AMR holds similar training sessions for the public every 6 weeks. The next one is September 30th at the Encinitas Community Center.
Every second counts. You get about 5 to 8 minutes before you can start seeing brain damage.
Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
The Biden administration has officially launched its new student loan repayment program. It's called SAVE and aims to significantly lower payments and reduce overall loan costs for millions of people. The White House says payments will be calculated based on the borrower's income and family size, not their loan balances. It will also forgive remaining balances after a certain number of years. Borrowers are encouraged to apply for the plan as soon as possible.
In the wake of recent wet weather, we will continue to experience dry conditions into Wednesday. You will also start to notice over the coming days some of the interior valleys will be getting to further warm. Can start to see a little uptick in moisture later on this week over the mountainous and heading into the desert terrain. Overnight low temperatures for tonight dropping down into the mid-60s around Oceanside toward Chula Vista. Borrego Springs down to 70. Mount Laguna falling off into the mid-50s. Let's walk you through time here at Futurecast. And note here to the east, there's an uptick in moisture working its way into Arizona as we work our way into Wednesday. That means there can be some downpours and some travel impacts from Phoenix on northbound heading into Flagstaff. But you still see quite a bit of clear skies over our area. Can start to see an uptick in cloud coverage heading toward late week into Thursday as we begin to experience some of that moisture well to the east. All right, high temperature wise for tomorrow, here's what we're looking at. In Borrego Springs now up to 100 degrees, 89 Ramona, Chula Vista 77, 77 at Oceanside. So high temperatures will be running very close to the historical average. But we will notice that slight increase in the numbers here over the course of the next couple of days. Not so much to the coast. We stay put here into the upper 70s. Of course, the humidity will be ever present with overnight lows dropping down into the mid-60s. But over the interior valleys, gradually, we'll notice those numbers rising through the 80s, coming close to 90 as we head our way into and through the upcoming weekend. Mountainous terrain staying put into the upper 60s. And again, there can be some cloud coverage later on this week. Overnight lows dropping into the upper 50s to lower 60s. And over the deserts, and notice the numbers here also climbing as we head our way into the weekend. 104 Saturday and heading into Sunday. For KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Justin Pavic.
Incidents involving autonomous vehicles have spiked in California. This less than 2 weeks after state regulators voted to allow driverless taxis. Now, as Veronica Miracle explains, some officials think more testing and regulation is needed.
There's like 10 of them. Traffic chaos on the streets of San Francisco, caused by cars with no one in the driver's seat.
There's like 1, 2, 3, 4 cruise cars blocking. No one can get through.
These driverless cabs stalled for half an hour outside of the Outside Lands Music Festival. In the last 2 weeks, incidents involving autonomous vehicles have spiked after a regulatory agency approved GM's Cruise and Google's Waymo to expand their driverless car services in San Francisco.
I mean, I couldn't have predicted it any better. I don't think any of us could.
San Francisco city leaders, including Fire Chief Janine Nicholson, were outspoken about safety concerns, requesting more testing and regulations for the innovative but potentially dangerous technology. Just days after California's Public Utility Commission voted to allow Cruise and Waymo to roll out more cars in the city at expanded times, a cruise car and a fire truck collided. Now the state's DMV is investigating, and Cruise has been ordered to reduce its fleet by half until further notice.
It could cost someone their life. When an autonomous vehicle impacts one of our company's ability to respond to an emergency incident, it can impact someone's survivability.
Data from the National Highway Transportation Safety Administration shows driverless cars have only resulted in minor injuries. But city officials say that paints an incomplete picture because that data only shows crashes, not delays or chaos caused by stalled cars.
Doesn't know what to do. He's about to go drive into this trench right here.
This cruise car drove into downed power lines.
The data that we're getting is from 911 calls, which have tripled as a result of autonomous vehicles doing crazy things.
Everyone's getting off the bus because there's no one driving the car.
Cruises' Prashanthi Raman says its mission is to work with cities and make their streets safer.
The status quo of transportation is really unacceptable. There's over 40,000 fatalities happening on the roads in the United States. We've driven over 3 million driverless miles, and we have had no life-threatening injuries or fatalities.
This experience may feel futuristic, but the need to buckle up is the same as always.
Waymo declined an interview with CNN, but said it's proud of its safety record and its automated driver demonstrates comparable or better performance than a reference model of a human driver. AVs aren't just in San Francisco. Cruise is already operating in Austin, Texas, and Los Angeles, too. Chief Nicholson has a warning for other cities.
Pay attention, get on board, get ahead of this, because it's coming your way. And I don't want them to have happen to them what has happened here.
And that was Veronica Miracle reporting. The DMV says Cruise, the self-driving division of General Motors, can have no more than 50 driverless cars on the roads during the day in San Francisco. 150 are allowed to operate at night when there is less traffic. And here is a look at what we're working on for tomorrow in the KPBS newsroom. We check in with Dr. Eric Topol for an update on COVID-19 in San Diego, including a jump in local cases this summer. And you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Have a great evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.